afternoon from the KUOW newsroom. This is Seattle Now. I'm Paige Browning with the roundup of today's top stories. It's Thursday, June 5th. The search continues for a dad accused of murder. The Chelan County Sheriff's Office is asking people with cabins and outbuildings in remote areas of the Cascades to make sure they're locked as the manhunt for Travis Decker continues. He's been charged with murder in connection with the deaths of his 3 young daughters near Leavenworth. Mike Morrison is the Chelan County Sheriff.
Travis, if you're out there seeing us, we'd like you to turn yourself in. We want a peaceful resolution to this, but we're not going to relinquish our any effort that we can proceed to track you down.
The mother of the 3 girls is calling for the state to change its Amber Alert rules. The State Patrol says it did not issue an alert when their mom reported the girls missing because it didn't meet all the criteria. The U.S. Forest Service has shut down public access to the gateway to the Enchantment Lakes and Upper Icicle Creek, as well as campgrounds and trails in the Okanagan-Wenatchee National Forest. To vaccine news. The process for determining who should receive which vaccines in the U.S. is currently based on precedent, not law. A Democratic congresswoman from Washington state is trying to change that. Eilish O'Neill has more.
Congresswoman Kim Schreier wants the recommendations of the CDC's Vaccine Advisory Committee to be the final word, with few exceptions. So she and a colleague are introducing legislation to that effect.
When they say a vaccine is recommended, that has impacts. That affects whether schools have a requirement for that vaccine. It also affects whether insurance companies pay for that vaccine.
Since 2021, the CDC has recommended the COVID vaccine for all children over 6 months old and for pregnant women. In an unusual move, Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy recently skirted the normal process and asked the CDC to change that advice. Now, the federal government says parents should ask their child's doctor about the COVID vaccine. It offers no guidance for pregnancy, but Washington State's health agency says pregnant people should talk to their provider about the vaccine. Eilish O'Neill, KUOW News.
Washington State's drought declaration has been expanded to cover 19 more watersheds. The State Department of Ecology says it now includes the North and Central Cascades and parts of the Puget Sound area. Ecology officials say warmer than normal temperatures in April led to snow melting 2 to 4 weeks early. Conditions are not as dire in Seattle, Tacoma, and Everett, where the watersheds are in a drought advisory. The Washington State Patrol is apologizing today to attendees of a Pride Month ceremony at the state capitol. About 50 patrol cadets were headed to their graduation ceremony yesterday when they marched by the Pride flag raising led by Governor Ferguson. Patrol spokesperson Chris Loftus explains what happened.
They saw uniformed officers marching towards them and then right through them, through their assembly. It was unfortunate. It was an error. It was our fault, but it was not intentional, and it certainly was no message. We are in full support of raising the pride flag. We serve everybody in the state. We have 2,500 people in the Washington State Patrol. We embody the diversity of our great and beautiful state, and we do so proudly.
The appearance of the cadets caused a Pride Month speaker to pause and drew some jeers from the crowd momentarily. Loftus says a route miscommunication led to the incident. Nearby in Tacoma, for the first time ever, Pierce County's flying a rainbow flag outside the county building to mark Pride Month. This comes a year after controversy within the county council over the flag. Northwest Public Broadcasting's Lauren Gallup has more.
We're not going to go back in the closet, and we're not going to take down this pride flag.
Pierce County employees cheered as County Executive Ryan Mello celebrated the historic moment. Mello is the county's first openly gay executive. Last year, as a council member, he spoke out when another member said they wouldn't sit in council chambers if the flag was up.
When people like me see this symbol, it means that we are seen, that we are valued, that we matter.
The county has put the pride flag up at 4 locations this year. In Tacoma, I'm Lauren Gallup.
On our police beat, the U.S. Supreme Court has dealt a setback to 4 Seattle police officers seeking anonymity in a lawsuit. It's over their attendance at Donald Trump's Stop the Steal rally. Amy Radel has more.
An internal investigation found the 4 Seattle officers did not violate any policies when they attended the rally on January 6, 2021. The officers have sued using pseudonyms to block the release of their names and questions about their political beliefs. They say disclosing them would chill their right to free speech. The Washington Supreme Court said the officers cannot remain anonymous. Now, the U.S. Supreme Court has declined to intervene, although Justice Samuel Alito said the state Supreme Court sidestepped some of the officers' First Amendment concerns. Attorneys seeking disclosure say the officers will now be required to use their legal names if they want to proceed with the lawsuit. Amy Radel, KUOW News.
There's a flurry of news right now about vote by mail. The latest, the Washington State Republican Party says it's officially joined a regional effort to end mail-in voting. It's backing a proposal filed last month that would require people show up in person to cast a ballot. State Party Chair Jim Walsh says the goal is to restore trust. A similar movement's underway in Oregon. In journalism news, Democratic Washington Senator Maria Cantwell is speaking out against the president's rescission order to pull more than $1 billion in federal funding from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. She says defunding 1,500 public broadcasters around the country would cut off people in rural communities from local news and life-saving emergency alerts. KUOW is one of those stations at risk of losing congressionally approved funding. Meanwhile, 3 Western Washington University graduates are using settlement money they received from the college to establish an investigative journalism fund. The former students sued Western in 2019 when it refused to name students the university found responsible for sexual misconduct. A judge ordered Western to pay the plaintiffs more than $100,000 in penalties. Now they're creating a fund to support student investigative journalism. Ending on an exciting sports note, the biggest name in women's hockey is coming to play for Seattle. PWHL Seattle has signed Hillary Knight, the first ever player the team's landed. The Professional Women's Hockey League is expanding to Seattle for the 2025-2026 season. Knight, a forward from Sun Valley, Idaho, has 4 Olympic medals. She's signing with Seattle for 1 year. The expansion team draft takes place on Monday. Next time on Seattle Now, it's Casual Friday. We'll discuss the return of Shama Sawant. The former Seattle City Council member is running for Congress.
I associate her most with $15 minimum wage and just generally starting conversations around town that people feel uncomfortable having, such as what is socialism, period.
Yeah.
But
I still don't actually know.
That's all for today from the KUOW Newsroom in Seattle. Our producers, Andy Hurst, and I'm Paige Browning. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. See ya.